May I please have your full and undivided attention? It is time for the Paranormal Rundown. Hello, this is Cedric Dankworth-Smythe. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all fans of the paranormal, the supernatural, the unusual, the entertaining, the terrifying, the horrifying, and those things that go bump in the night and in the daytime too. This is the one and only Paranormal Rundown, where the lads, the gang of nerds, choose from over 2,700 carefully curated paranormal topics. Tonight, we have a guest like no other before, with Father Justin Allen, who has spent almost 0% of his life concerned with paranormal topics. What a refreshing change. Maybe his mind works better than the gang of nerds. That's almost a certainty. Tonight, join the lads as they discuss things that appear human, but aren't. Various sacramental mysteries. Baptizing aliens. I wonder where they get those little alien gowns. And of course, we're going to bring up again the never-ending topic of Jason the Horse. Whoa, big fella, tune in. You'll hear things you've never heard before. And that is a sincere promise from myself, Cedric Dankworth-Smythe.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Paranormal Rundown. And today we have with us Father Justin Allen. He's a priest in the CC and also a fellow seminary student of mine.
Welcome, Father Justin.
Welcome very much.
Thank you.
Father Justin, do you know the format of the rundown?
A little. I've been bombarding Josh about what this is and how this works, and you're playing to all my insecurities of not being prepared.
No. None of us.
No preparation required for a rundown.
Yeah.
There's neither preparation. Preparation is neither required nor possible.
Yes, that's it. It is not possible. The best thing for you to do is pull out the old 80s trivia game and read the question and turn the card over and read the answer and memorize all of it. And then you may have a clue as to what to talk about. But you always have to bring up rabbits.
Rabbits, yeah. Rabbits are important.
Oh, God.
Rabbits are important. Sooner or later, we may tell you the importance of rabbits, but not right this second.
We just can't seem to escape it, Dave.
We can't. It's their fault, right? It's Father Mike.
Mostly Father Mike's fault.
And it is mostly Father Mike's, you're right.
I will take that on the same way when we were introduced to the city in Alaska named after moose testicles.
Wow. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those rundowns.
One of those.
Okay.
Let me just give you and anyone who hasn't heard before a quick rundown on the rundown.
There you go.
The Paranormal Rundown was my idea, but I became kind of obsessed with it. Like the first time we did a Paranormal Rundown, I think we had 103 or 108 topics.
Somewhere around that.
Somewhere right in there. Now we've got 2,651. And so I got kind of crazy.
Has that list gone down, Vic?
Well, no, I was wrong. I said it was 2,700. I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
So mea culpa, mea maxima culpa.
What'd you just call me?
Now, for the record, Vic, nobody can actually see the list. So you didn't have to lower the number.
Oh, no.
Said,
I know. Just that crazy honest streak I've got. It's 2,651 topics, and its growth has kind of slowed down lately. But then I realized I had not spent any time going through Reddit looking for stuff. I kind of avoid Reddit because it's sort of a black hole. But I changed that in the last few days, and I've I've put a few topics on here. So 2,651. They are all paranormal, or what's that word? Paranormal adjacent. Where they're in the strange parts of life. We choose 6 from a random number generator, and then we talk about one of them at a time. And normally we give at least the first choice to the guest. And if we choose 6 that all are really terrible, then we can choose again. And really beyond that, there aren't any rules. Rabbit holes are strongly encouraged.
I was about to say I was about to say, Father Justin, feel free to jump down any rabbit hole. I call myself Alice a lot.
Okay. All right.
I don't identify as Alice.
Mostly the goal of the show is to have fun, engaging conversation on
All right.
any topic that comes to mind.
That's it.
That's good. I can do that.
All right, I have a first listing of 6. I'm going to give it a B in terms of the best listings we've ever had. And so the first topic is PsyCop, which is the Society for the Investigation of the Paranormal. It's basically a skeptical organization. What would be the impact of a life-extending substance, such as melange, something where instead of having the expectation of living 70 years, you've got the expectation of living, say, 700 years. Horror culture in general, I think that probably put that in for JJ. Word salad in the paranormal. Human estrus periods. Are there non-humans walking among us who are indistinguishable from actual humans? How would we know? Things like this are frequently discussed in literature. So those are our 6 topics. Do any of those
go back? What is I would no, it's Justin.
Well, and Justin, with Zoom there's a chat feature?
Yes.
Sure.
And if you have that chat window pulled up, Josh posts stuff in there throughout the show. That's related, and I think he put the list out there for you.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you,
very
Josh.
cool. Thank you, Josh.
Well, I'll tell you the one that gets my attention, if I can. And Father Justin, if you could get a little closer to the microphone, I think you're a little low. Would you agree, Dave?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. It's right here.
I make lists. Ask Dave.
Yes. Long lists.
Yes. So, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
I probably have somewhere a list of creatures that aren't human but might be able to appear as human. And man, I've run into some very, very strange people in my life. So, I mean, in the novels that Anne Rice wrote about Lestat, the vampire Lestat, those different novels, she talks a lot about, or maybe not a lot, but occasionally Lestat will say, yeah, you see them out there. They look like wealthy old men, but they're not human. They've never been human, but they're walking through the world. You remember that, Josh?
Yep.
I'm seeing you nod your head.
I'm a huge fan of the Anne Rice books.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We can talk about that. But that's put a coal in my brain as to, okay, maybe there are non-humans out there that could mix in with us. Anybody have any?
Call those lizard people?
Well, yeah, but they've got on costumes. These guys.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, and sorry, Father Justin, this is, you get to pick the topic, but
Go ahead.
When I hear that, I always automatically think about Nick Klaus.
Who's Nick Klaus?
The originals.
Yeah,
Dave
the originals.
knows. Dave knows.
Yeah,
gotta
it
watch
was a
the
spinoff
originals.
from the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, but it's not as boochy as and sappy as the Vampire Diaries.
Right,
were.
it's not as teeny.
It's
more,
not a teeny
grittier.
soap opera. Yeah, But the originals, I just loved every blooming episode. I mean, Sonny and I, that was our weekly part of our enjoyment time was we had to watch the Vampire Diaries. I mean, not Vampire Diaries, the originals.
The originals, yeah.
And I mean, one night we sat up forever and went through a whole 2 seasons worth. I'm like, okay, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, that was the first time in a while instead of 4 a.m.
Yeah.
What was that word you used? Bougie?
Bougie.
Oh, bougie. Okay.
Bougie. It's kind of on the same word as frou-frou.
Okay.
Like people have their coffee today. It's all bougie looking and
wealthy
got all the
and
frou-frou
clueless
stuff in it.
Well, so what did old Nick look like? How did Nick work?
Oh man, Nick Klaus. Josh, pull up a picture of Nick Klaus. He and Elijah were brothers, along with the sister Catherine, and they were the original vampires.
Okay.
And they built up. They lived in Nolans.
Okay.
And they ruled the roost. And well, that's all I'm gonna say about it. You gotta. They made a few appearances in the Vampire Diaries because
they're the originals.
I think they were the ones that they were along the same line as the Michelsons, which is Nick Klaus and Elijah and Catherine. But at any rate, it was a good series. I enjoyed it immensely.
But you had the vampires, and you had the witches, and you had werewolves, right?
And hybrids.
Yeah.
Like any show like that, you got people walking around that just look normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got to wonder how much that is in modern day, in reality. What do you have walking around? I mean, I obviously have people walking around that are witches, but as far as werewolves, and this has just always been on the human mind forever. And it is certainly a huge amount of our, modern culture in terms of TV shows and books and stuff like that. What are the possibilities? Vic, you're thinking of something not along those lines, though. In your case, you're talking something that's sort of unclassified.
Well, I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. Which is the frequent state of mind, but
but in that scenario, there's not a definition of what that person is. It is just they're just not human.
No, one of the overarching themes in the Paranormal Rundown and in Trailer Trash Terrors is this whole idea of what I call the paranormal zoo.
Yeah.
Okay, and I that's kind of my idea. Okay, what's out there? If you were going to put them into a zoo, how would you classify them? Where would the what do they call that, binomial nomenclature?
Okay.
Whatever you just said. Yeah.
Homo.
Yeah. I'm right behind you, brother.
Homo sapiens sapiens. Okay, you're a homo. But you're a sapiens.
I'm not a homo.
Okay, you're homo, but you're a sapiens. I'm a homo. I'm a homo sapiens. Sapiens, meaning wise man.
Oh, I done got Father Justin.
We're just gonna have to keep his mic on mute. Can you mute him from the meeting, Vic?
I don't know how to do that. Can you do that? I don't know.
Look at Josh.
No,
I can't.
I need him there. I love it.
Can I mute? I can mute you. Oh, whoa!
That ain't right.
I'm sorry. What?
No.
Just do that again. A little louder. I can't hear you.
Yeah, what?
I sent you an. Whoa! See, that's like power.
I shouldn't have given that to Vic. Maybe
I didn't know I had that power.
That was funny. I like that. That's a good one. We got to do that to JJ one time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, Father Justin, let me ask you. What do you think there are things walking around there in our world that look human that aren't?
In the sense you guys are talking about vampires and things like that, no. This, like I said before, I'm probably the most boring guy in the world. I grew up not really getting into this kind of world. I have friends who are in this kind of world, and as far as that goes, and they love it. Probably my fantasy aspect of it was, my non-realistic. I always watch movies that were based in true stories in life and real world stuff. It's really kind of boring for most people to be around.
Not for me.
No, not for.
I just because I have friends who loved talking about vampires and zombies and wolves and wolverines and all these things, and I like comic book stuff to an extent, just fantasy on that aspect. But as far as real world, are there people walking around? In the essence of being dead spiritually, yes. In the essence of being, dead physically, walking around and things like that. No, I don't really. I'm too boring to dive into that. That's too deep for me, and as far as wanting to explore those things, I spend most of my time on Zoom stuff with people who want to go deep into life stuff, and I just my brother is an addictions counselor, and so I deal with people who struggle with all kinds of addictions, not just addictions that we think of, drugs, alcohol, those types of things. Whether people struggling with just porn, people struggling with anger issues, stuff like that. And so it's, I don't want to bring this stuff down for you guys, but it's just one of those things where you guys, I'm looking at your list going, holy crap, I have no idea. The impact of life extending substance. I'm like, okay, I got the Eucharist. What else?
There you go.
What else do you need?
Right. Good point. Good point.
And so I don't, my brain just doesn't operate that way. And that's a fault, because I have friends who are like, dude, can you not just let go and relax and just talk about fun things?
Oh,
apparently not. I'm just boring.
That's
There's
okay.
nothing wrong with that.
And believe me, we don't consider it boring.
No,
let me throw one thing in here. I really do enjoy, I don't know, just kind of the feeling of going through all these different ideas.
Sure.
Okay, so, and for the most part, like most people, I look at them as these are the kinds of things that humans make up trying to make sense of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And trying to make their life a little less boring. What are you going to do today? I'm going to plow the field. I'm going to wash the dishes. I'm going to make a meal that I'm not going to like. And when my husband gets home, he'll probably want to have sex, and I really don't want to. And okay. And so that is the boring life that many people live. And so I think these things come up to try to add some entertainment to that.
Exactly.
And I have no problem with that. And I had, like you and Father Mike and Josh, I've seen spiritual things that I couldn't deny, that I couldn't run away from. And then one day I ran into something physical that I also couldn't run away from, wasn't about to try to run away from. And so suddenly my entire milieu of how I see the world changed. Yes, there are things out there that aren't supposed to be there, or I'm crazy. Those are the two possibilities. I don't discount the second one. Totally. But if I'm crazy, I'm a very high functioning crazy. And and I'm able to get through life without any real problems. And I think that's why I'm in this space. I think that's why I do these things, is because, hey, there's mystery in the world. It's interesting to talk about.
Yeah, if we talk about mysteries, that's but those are trigger words for me because it just takes me back to the Sacraments for me.
Yeah.
And again, those are things that I wrap my day around. And like I said, I like to. It's intriguing to talk about. I just don't have enough.
Father Justin, you have. Let me put you at ease.
Yes.
How about that?
Thank you.
You have more knowledge. You are selling yourself tremendously short right now, because I have spoken with you. Josh has spoken with you. I want you to totally relax because not one of us in front of you today has the all-knowing knowledge on any of these doggone subjects. Okay.
And nobody does.
And I understand what you're saying. So don't feel like you've got to know what you're talking about, because none of us do. These topics are just things that the world brings up, and we just try to figure them out and make sense as much as we can, basically just so we know what's going on with the world.
Yeah.
But also each and every one of us, and you included, and Vic, myself, Josh, Dave, each and every one of us can bring in a golden nugget to bring more wisdom to any topic that we come across, so that when we come across it, we got a little bit of knowledge to be able to rebuttal or confirm. So there's many topics that we pick that we don't have a clue, or I don't have a clue. I mean, I am like you. My thought process and my knowledge goes in one direction. Vic has a world of knowledge in other things. Josh has his. Dave has his. When JJ is with us, JJ has his. And so what we're doing, Justin, is we're bringing in all these gentlemen together and discussing something that none of us has a clue about.
Well, and I think there's something interesting
sharing
here,
knowledge. Yeah,
Father Mike. So what he's saying is true. It's taking your analytical train of thought on a topic and diving into it. What would it be if? But I do find it interesting. Each of us on the show has had some sort of paranormal, supernatural, or preternatural type of experience, whether it be with UFOs, which I think we've all had one. I don't know about Josh, Deacon Josh, but the rest of us I know have had one. Or whether it be with ghost hunting. My wife and I have done paranormal investigations for years. We've had experiences. Vic's the only one that's had a creature sighting with the Yowie experience, but we've all had something, whether it be dealing with the demonic or what have you, that is unnatural.
Yeah.
And so we've only had one guest, to my knowledge, offhand, that hasn't, and that was Dr. Burt, and he had sort of a minor, some experience, but it wasn't anything like crazy. Is there been anything in your life that you've had that was beyond the normal, explainable by standard physical laws?
My wife marrying me.
That's good.
That's a good one.
And
that's, as you were talking, I kind of thought it was going to go that way for you to ask that question. And really, honestly, I can't right off the bat say. I mean,
It's not a
I
bad
love
thing.
watching.
That's not
I
a bad
love
thing,
watching
believe
the
me.
show. I love watching the paranormal shows of ghost hunting. I get into those things. I think they're fascinating. It's intriguing because I have no answers for them. I have no explanations. I have no, I just chalk those things up to one of those things that I'm just never going to be able to fully explain or understand.
Which is
fully.
a completely reasonable thing.
And it's so.
Well, see, that's a
But
good
as far
point of
as-
view. That's a good point of view because that's the way the rest of us are.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all seen things. Can we explain it to a T? No. Do we know why or how they exist? No. Just like me with Josh, we have been dealing with the demonic and possessions like crazy over the last 3 years or more. Can I explain it? No, but I see it. But see, also, I was going to bring this up because you understand what I'm talking about with this subject of people walking around unseemingly is something else. That goes right along with the demonically possessed. I'm talking about fully possessed. They can walk around and be normal until
They decide not to be.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. You have more knowledge than you think you do, and but we also
what they call it.
yeah, we also have plenty of other topics that I know for a fact that you can jump in. So I know that you came in today unawares. Be at peace, brother.
Be at peace, brother. Yes.
and
Be at peace.
listen, I think Vic probably gets where I was going with this.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
Without having any experience like that,
I love it.
okay, that gives you a unique perspective that we don't have in this group.
Exactly.
Because we each have the point of view of there is something beyond what we see because we've experienced it. Having not experienced that, we can take any topic in this list and get your perspective on it. How can this be explained from your point of view, not having experienced something? What would you think something like this, what would be the why this happened? Why would this person feel that way? What would be a reasonable explanation for this?
Well,
Gotcha.
I want to jump on something that you said. When I used the word mystery, your eyes lit up. And you smiled. And so I assume you're talking about the mysteries of the sacraments, the mysteries of the church, the mysteries of man's interaction with Christ and with God.
Those are things I can't explain. Those are things I can't give you a full. I believe them, but I don't understand them.
Hello.
Well, isn't it kind of wouldn't they be less profound, less meaningful if we could easily understand them?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it would make me feel a lot smarter.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd then be kind of, wouldn't you be sort of knocking Aquinas out of his, top seat and things like that?
Yeah, you'd have to write a whole bunch of books and all that. It's a lot of work.
Go live on an island somewhere. And
I mean, Justin, think about this for a minute. And I totally agree with Vic. How in the world can you explain, unless you eat of my flesh and drink of my blood, you have no life in you? And the natural part of us, and especially the natural part of us in the old law that refused to come to the new covenant, that was a formidable sin. Cannibalism. I mean, and how many walked away that day? And then Jesus looked at his posse and said, "What the hell, y'all gonna leave too?" And they said, "We ain't got nowhere else to go, brother." You're bringing words of life. So,
Father Justin, I'm going to ask you a question.
how do you explain that? Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you answer.
No, go ahead, Vic. Go ahead, Vic. I'm sorry.
Well, no, just of all of these mysteries that you were referring to, that it really do as a priest, they have to inform your life every day. I mean, I would think you have to spend time every day pondering, thinking, wondering, praying, searching for these things, with some success sometimes, and probably many days with total frustration. And other than the fact that there's value in the seeking, which of these mysteries do you find most profound? Which do you find? Well, I hesitate to use the word exciting, but exciting is not a bad word. I mean, you know, when you.
Well, I think everything to me revolves around the Eucharist.
Okay.
It's the body and blood of Christ. It's everything that all the other sacraments allow us to come to the Eucharist. I mean, yes, you don't have to be married to come to the Eucharist. You don't have to be ordained to come to the Eucharist. But the rest of these, confession to me is probably the most. Well, I shouldn't say that. They're both life-altering, life-changing, life-giving, but confession to me is one of the most important to be able to lead us to the Eucharist from the standpoint of relieving our burdens and that mystery of what does it mean to offload our insecurities, our sins, our fears, our anxieties, our worries, and trust in somebody else, trust in not just the Father, but to trust in somebody that we're confessing to and bringing those things to light. Because the moment we bring those things to light, we are released. And how that happens, it's something that I strive to understand every day, to understand how just confessing releases so much stress, so much power, or so much stress and anxiety and fear off of me just saying words. And for that, and as far as the unexplainable to me, that's the things I seek after all the time of, okay, and then when I can come to the Eucharist, in community, the Eucharist is probably one of the biggest things when it comes to that's important to strengthen community for me. How does the body and blood of Christ bring people together? It's something that I don't understand, because, like I said, to receive body and blood, it sounds cannibalistic, and so to involve and it draws people together. I mean, it's outside of what God said do, sure, but why do we do that? I mean, why do we say, yeah, sure, I'm going to eat body and flesh in the midst of a congregation and say, yeah, this draws us together closer to the community? It makes, to the natural brain, it makes no sense. And yet I seek after it constantly to understand those things, to understand those mysteries, to understand why do I do this? Why do I want to do this? So that's kind of those are the things that I spend most time doing and seeking after.
When did you first
Prayer.
Start seeking with that degree of passion, that degree of ardor?
Really, probably, and this is not something that I'm proud of because I've been ordained now 21 years, but probably not too long after I became a priest in 2016 that I started reading and listening to Father Kenneth Tanner more. And the more I read, if you don't know him, I highly encourage you to go and find him and read his stuff. He brought me on to the humanity of Christ to help understand the humanity of Christ. That's in a way that I had never. I've always approached and focused on Christ from the divine aspect. He's divine. He's somewhere out there. He's somewhere. But to stop long enough and actually engage with the humanity and see that, wait a minute, he knows what pain is like. He knows what my pain is. He knows what we deal with, and I'm reading books on incarnation that just, the movie Bonhoeffer came out. Reading Bonhoeffer has just been when he talks about the incarnation, isn't that God became human? We hear that he took on flesh, but no, he took on humanity. He took all of our pain, anguish, all of our insecurities, fears, sins, doubts. He healed humanity in the incarnation. And so when he goes to the crucifixion, that all dies. So our humanity has been, so how does that work? That doesn't make sense in my brain. It doesn't make any sense at all. But I enjoy being able to go, thanks be to God that he does, because otherwise I'd be even in more fear and anguish and insecurity as I already am. And so these are the things that, a lot of these things I deal with to selfishly, to just deal with my own insecurities of not being enough. I've got to figure out, I want to always figure out, okay, why do you possibly love me? Why did you create? Why did you do this? Why? Makes no sense to me. So when I say that the most impressive thing that makes no sense is my wife marrying me, yeah, it's funny, but it's also serious too, because my wife is a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant woman, and I'm just looking at her every day going, what were you thinking? Why? It makes no sense.
Well, I have no trouble believing that.
Those are the things I probably obsess of too much.
Oh, no.
And so I don't allow myself, I allow myself to watch football games every now and then. That's about it. And that's probably my son's into video gaming, and I try to get to that, and I try to watch, I used to love video games when I was younger, but he's so much better at video gaming than I am. And I'm like, dude, I just don't understand it. I don't know how you do this.
I can remember playing video games with my son, and he's over on the next ridge with his spacesuit and a space gun, and he's jumping up and down. He's going, "Hey, Dad, oh, yo, Dad, I'm over here," and and he's saying, "Press the X key and push the stick forward." Doesn't work in my brain. Sorry.
Yeah, my experiences with my son are just dying over and over again.
Dying and dying.
Because he's way too quick. I can't keep up. He's running circles around me, shooting me every time we go on and play COD.
Yeah, that's exactly what. All right. I really deeply have a question that I want to ask you.
Sure.
And it's not a question that has anything to do with this, and it's a selfish question on my part.
Okay.
I would never ask you in any way to, break any kind of seal of the confessional. But asking you, what's happening in your mind, in the part of your soul that you can access when you're receiving confession? I don't think that's I don't think that's an unfair question.
As far as me confessing my stuff?
No, when you're hearing the confession of others. I mean,
what's going through my head?
Yeah, what is that state like?
My heart. It's actually excitement, because I get to reveal to them, to help them remember what God has already said to them.
Mm-hmm.
What God has already done, because they are forgiven. I don't really, and a lot of times I don't even hear. I mean, I hear it because I want to respect that this is something serious that they're doing.
Yes.
But most of the time, I'm already past the sin part of it.
Right.
Whatever it is, I'm past that.
And I've heard many priests say that. I
can't wait to reveal to them, this is what God has already said. This is what God has already done.
Mm-hmm.
You are forgiven. Now go and pray for me, a sinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Father Mike,
I've heard that before as well, Vic. I've heard that the priest hearing the confession, it's almost gone when it's over with.
Correct.
There is a grace from God there, sort of buffering you from hanging on to that, because you have to absorb so much of it that it would change you in a negative way. And that is a mystery in and itself.
There's a story. There was a nun, and I'm terrible at remembering names, but anyway, she was apparently having visitations from Christ. That was what she had told her priest. That's what she had told her bishop. And of course, they were very incredulous about this. And the bishop said, okay, next time that you have an encounter with Christ, I want you to ask him what my last mortal sin was.
Oh,
And
I love this story.
I came up with a good one, huh? And,
I was about to say the same story, so go ahead.
See,
I love this story.
secularists aren't all bad, but anyway, so she did, and the answer that she got from Christ was, well, I know there was a mortal sin, but I've forgotten what it was. And so communicating this back to the bishop, he says, well, that it must be true. You are having these visitations.
And see, let me back Father Justin up on what he said and what you said as well, Vic. When I hear a confession, before we even begin, I have already forgot it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And it took me a while to get there, and I prayed, God, I don't want to remember a thing. And so when they begin, and then when it gets to the part I confess specifically, here's where I've sinned, my comprehension goes blank, if you will.
And that's a mystery.
And well, yeah, you're exactly right, Justin. That is a mystery. That's why it's called a sacrament, from that Greek word mysterion, which it's unexplainable.
And that's not something that you're trained to do, right?
No,
that is just something that happens.
It just happens, and by the time we're done, no one has the gumption enough.
I guess.
But no one would ever ask me. But I literally cannot remember. The only thing that I remember ever is looking at that person and saying, "God's not mad at you."
Well,
and then the most last thing, Vic. Then the next thing I can only remember is me looking at that person in the eyes, and it's heartbreaking to say it. Pray for me, a sinner, because I'm no better than that person confessing to me. It's not me, it's Christ.
Yeah, you've been given the authority to act in persona Christi.
Yes.
And in my mind, that's probably the time you get to do that the most. You know, you are there in place of Christ. And
right.
Christ has made it clear that, you know, drink of my blood, eat of my body, come to me in faith. Anything you've ever done is forgiven,
right.
You know, with genuine repentance, anything. And of course, this theme of that which is really forgiven is forgotten, at least with Christ. Okay. Humans aren't so good at that.
Well, that's the thing is, when you talk about representing, we're a physical representation of Christ here on earth, but in the confessional, we're also the representation of the body of Christ.
Right.
So when we pronounce, we're not just saying what God has already said and done, we're on behalf of the church. We surround you, we pray with you, and
Exactly.
we love you. And the church has forgiven you as well. So when we proclaim that, that's what we're saying as well. So that person can truly walk away free of knowing I've left everything there, and I'm free now. And so when they come to the Eucharist at that point, they're walking on the cloud. They're just in that midst of the community aspect. They're freer than they have ever been in their lives.
I'm
and
glad.
So it's such a beautiful thing to watch.
I'm glad that you brought up the word community, and here's the reason why. We are not, quote unquote, forgiving sin. Okay, we are just proclaiming what Christ has said has already been done. But however, another thing that we're doing is when the priest says, "I absolve you," the priest is saying to that person, "Welcome back to the fold of the church." That's the whole. God is forgiving this sin through Christ, and the priest is echoing, "Welcome back," in other words, to the family, because unrepented sin, if you will, takes us away from the body of Christ. And so that's what is really being done. It is saying, welcome back, in other words.
Okay, here's the next topic list, which I'm going to give a B+, maybe an A-. Number 1, talking animals. Number 2, therapeutic touch. Number 3, dream interpretation, dream meaning. Number 4, animal awareness, such as earthquakes, sniffing out cancer, sensing someone's impending death or a seizure. Number 5, alien abductions or implants. And number 6, why do paranormal things frighten us? Why are humans instantly frightened by these kind of things? Or so many humans instantly frightened by these kind of things? And I'm going to be quiet and let you guys decide.
Josh, did you read all that?
I'm reading to you again.
There we go.
Yeah, talking animals, therapeutic touch, dream interpretation, meaning, animal awareness, alien abductions and implants, and then why are people so frightened by anything that they classify as paranormal?
What do you think, Father Just?
Well, dream interpretation. I'm in the middle of reading Joseph right now, so that's probably a good thing. But talking animals, we got the donkey. Why do paranormal things frighten us? The first thing that one jumped out probably initially just because of the first thing that popped into my head, and that was the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of not knowing or fear of not understanding. That's just, if I can't understand it, then it scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Literally, physically, it's just paranormal things that frighten. Why do they frighten us? I can't explain it, don't understand it. But that fear of the unknown isn't just fear as in I'm scared, but fear of it makes me look stupid. Makes me think I'm.
That's not nice.
What was that?
What was that?
Some said that's not nice.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
That
but
wasn't anybody's device.
But everybody heard.
No.
Everybody heard that.
Everybody heard
Right.
it, but
Everybody heard that already.
Mark, is there any way we can mark this time?
I'll find it. I'll find it when I review it.
Father Justin, there was a period of time there where on my channel, just about every recording we did for about a month, 2 months even, EVPs would show up.
Well, and it got worse when Father Mike joined the show
Oh
permanently.
man, when I joined the show permanently, y'all go ahead and explain this to Justin. He'll love this.
Well,
Yeah,
go ahead,
We
Dave.
were getting EVPs.
Yeah.
We had EVPs that I think the most interesting one hit all of the channels except for one, and I forget which one it skipped, but it started on one, went to another, and then to another. Because we get the recordings. Each person gets cleaned up independently, and so that one EVP, and I forget what it said, but it started on one and continued across each of the others.
Right.
Right. And it was never on more than one channel at a time. It was crazy. We've had lots of. It's calmed down a little bit, but that sounded like somebody had like an Alexa or a Siri or something.
It sounded like a Siri voice, and this is my phone right here, and it is not.
That is the.
It is not
weird.
That's the first time that I ever heard it clearly.
Siri hasn't done that.
That was not nice.
Stewie doesn't talk.
And what do you think it said, Father Mike?
I said that's not nice.
That's not nice.
That's not nice.
When I said it makes me feel stupid, he goes, that's not nice.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, so now you're a fully fledged member of the Rundown, and that you've precipitated an EVP.
There you go.
No, not an EVP. A disembodied voice.
A disembodied.
Oh my God!
EVPs you don't hear at the time.
Don't hear at the time. A disembodied voice you do.
Oh, we got an upgrade.
That's right. The disembodied voices are much more rare than EVPs.
Well, see,
that's a very rare thing.
Dave, why do you guys think paranormal things threaten us?
Well, I've got a thought. I mean, Dave does has in his past done paranormal investigation. Gone out and he's set up cameras and he's set up recorders and he's gotten some things, mostly EVPs. You've never had something move across the room or anything like that, have you, Dave? Or?
No, I've had some anomalies on video. Yeah. I've had some stuff show up that were light things that could not be explained, not like dust or something like that, but it's extremely rare. But personal experiences, we've had a ton during the investigations. I've been drained, dropped to my knees in an instant, like lightheaded, couldn't stand up, turns around. Somebody beside me is laying on the floor. The same thing happened to them. I've been touched. My wife and I have both been touched. She's had something walk through her, just lit her up like, static all over. I mean, we've had lots of personal experiences, tons of EVPs, and other devices that we've had that have had interesting results. But yeah, we've had stuff.
Well, I mean, if I were to be in one of these investigations and I see a cup lift up off the table and go down to the other end of the table and put itself back down, there might be some part of me that's frightened, but it's going to be greatly outvoted by the part of me that's going, how the heck are you moving?
I have had something move. I take it back. We use, when we set up tripods, especially if it's a public investigation, we hang a glow stick from the tripod. Those tripods have a hook on the bottom of them. And so that people don't knock over the camera.
Yeah,
when
good
they're
idea.
Walking around.
Uh-huh.
And we were at an opera house on the other side of Florida. I forget where it was. South of Orlando. But we were at this old opera house, and we were in this room, and there must have been 8-10 people in the room, all sitting down. And, there's like no air conditioning stuff going on. We were asking questions, and something started knocking that light, and it started swinging. And everybody saw it. I think I caught a little bit of it on another camera, but not enough to see the whole event from beginning to end. But yeah, so I think that there's different types of people. There are those who go, yeah, that was it, the Arcadia Opera House. Good pick there, Josh. Thanks. The old Arcadia Opera House. So I think there are people who sort of lean into that type of stuff. There's very few investigations where we've ever felt like afraid. There's been investigations we felt uncomfortable, but fear never really played into it. But I take that to Father Mike and other exorcists. There are sort of the calling of an exorcist. You don't have that deep-seated fear of what's happening. Not that you don't have scary moments, I'm sure, but you're not frozen by fear by the demonic in its happenings. Correct, Father Mike?
Absolutely right. I mean, there's a couple of ways that things can go in that area, but I mean, it's either fear. Well, let me put it to you this way and see if this makes sense. In the eyes of an exorcist or a wannabe, let's talk about that for just a second. You're either going to be wisely concerned or wisely fearful.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or
Yes.
you're going to go in there and you're going to get your rear end handed to you. And with that being said, some of the things that you have done in the eyes of someone that is a novice, they'll think in their mind, if you will, oh, this is easy stuff to deal with. No. And that's why I love so much. See, Father Justin, when I first met these guys, I was on guard.
As you should have been.
And which you probably are coming into this too. But then I found out real quickly, every one of these guys are believers, strong believers in our Lord, and strong believers in Holy Eucharist and the 7 sacraments. So then I got to start seeing the quote unquote paranormal through their eyes. And let's just, when you hear the word paranormal, folks like you and I, Justin, let's just go ahead and say it. We automatically put up defensive wall because it's all of the devil. You with me?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we'll cast demons out of a damn Coke machine. I mean, come on. But I knew that this type of stuff went on, but my attitude was totally different than it is now. I was not willing to accept the paranormal until I found out, well, what does the daggum word mean? It's a study of the unknown. Para, unknown, paranormal, a study or a question of that is of the normal human being and the non-human being. So that's the way that we have to look at it. And yes, a lot of the paranormal is a slap in the face, if you will, if you look at it real deeply, to the sacraments of God. And so what Dave has done, and I am so glad that I met him. Dave is, Justin, I trust Dave and Vic with my life. Okay. So in what Dave has done, he's been able to show me firsthand of what he does in the things that he sets in place to either confirm or totally debunk, if you will. It's either something supernatural happening in your house or in your life, or it's the wind blowing. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And you, Justin, you even remember the educational building out back of the church when you walk into the catacombs to go relieve yourself.
Mm-hmm.
He's even I had to go back in there and run demons off again, just for stuff that's been done in the city. Explain that to him, Dave. Of the first time that you came and did it, and then when you and your wife came last time, and it was Laura. You and Laura both couldn't pick up on anything.
When I went in there, the first time I went to visit Father Mike, I was passing through. He wanted me to check it out, and I put in some recorders and did EMF sweep, stuff like that. And I think I got one or two indistinguishable EVPs. But one of the things that, if you investigate enough, you get a feel for a place that has something going on. And a lot of people, they'll, and not that not everybody has a different path they follow. Some people, they try to do the mediumship, the psychic abilities, tell you about a place, whatever it is. I don't focus on any of that myself. But I can generally get a feel for where there's activity. There's a feeling about a place. My wife and I can drive down the street and we'll drive by a house and it'll catch both of our attention. And we're just driving by it. And it's like, oh, there is something going on there. There's, I don't know what it is. But if I go into a place that's active, I can generally go, yeah, there's something. I don't know if it's a feeling of energy or what. And so we, anyway, the first time I went and I told him, I said, there's something going on over in this part of this building. And I did get some audio stuff. And he and Josh went in and they did exorcism of a place on it again. And when Laura and I went back, we checked it out again and we walked through it and it was just clean as can be. No feeling at all. Just light feeling and all of that. There's something to that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because as you started off talking about what you've done. I remember now of before I came into the CC in '99, I was in a small church called Promised Land Bible Church. It was built in 1980. And about 5 years later, they added a hallway with classrooms, for the babies and the youth and stuff. And it was just a long hallway down where the bathrooms are. And so when I came into the church in '95, there was one time where me and a couple other guys who were in the high school, college age group where we came for some kind of Bible study or whatever. And we didn't leave till like 9, 10 o'clock. And so when we left, we turned the lights off. Well, I had to go back in and go to the restroom before I left. And so I went down that hall and something scared the absolute crap out of me. Felt something different. It just felt differently than the main church. The temperature was different. Everything just felt differently. And I just kind of like, well, that just, it scared me. But at the same time, it's kind of like you said, well, why? Why does that? And so I went to the bathroom, came back out and I said, man, that hallway just feels weird. And they all looked at me and was like, oh, you felt it too? I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, that hallway's been creeping people out for years. I was like, wow, seriously? And I said, yeah, it's been. And I said, well, what is there particularly anybody know why? And I said, well, when they added on to that, one of the guys who was working on it fell and died. That's what their thought was. And there was like, that's the only thing we can come up with. We have no other explanation as to why. It's just and so that kind of stuck. Now, whether that's what the reasoning was or whatever, that really mattered. Still, apparently I wasn't the only one that. And so from that point on, every time I walked down that hall, I was like, somebody's walking with me. Yeah. Because I ain't going by myself.
And well, with what you just said, Justin and Dave, I believe your next thoughts and words are going to go right into this as well. One of the questions was, why do paranormal things frighten us? Well, because of the word paranormal. what if I called it the fear? If I took the word paranormal out and just put this in, how would we approach it? Why do things of the unknown frighten us?
Yeah, good way to do that. Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about that, Dave? I mean, for everything that you said and Father Justin has just said, that's leading us right into this topic.
Well, it is about the unknown, but it's more than that. The paranormal implies that it might actually be unknowable.
Exactly. And that's what I was wanting to get to. Yeah.
Not just I mean, yeah, we always have a fear of the unknown to some degree. But something that experience can teach us about that can be knowable, that's a different level of fear than something that we have no clue what's actually happening. And it can be
paranormal.
Go ahead.
When we go to, like, when you go to these places and these, this homes or whatever, and or even in this church that I was in, when we say the unknowable, are the paranormal connected to someone that was there at one time? Isn't that not tied to a physical person at one time? Or could it be somebody who's never been in that house before just shows up?
Well, the answer is yes.
Yes. Yeah. It seems that all of those things do happen.
I'm curious.
But the unknowable aspect of it is I can take and get EVPs and interactions with something there through equipment or dowsing or whatever that strongly suggests that, oh, this is, Billy who fell off a ladder and died here 30 years ago, right? I get the name Billy on some equipment or on an EVP, and I say, did you fall off a ladder? And flashlights light up, right? I could do all of that. But in the end, I can't tell you that's Billy. It's unknowable. I can suspect. I can come up with a premise and say, well, if it's Billy and I say the name Billy, then this flashlight's going to go off, and bam, that happens. But I still can't prove that, and that's the unknowable aspect.
That's the unknowable aspect.
Is it a demon?
I got you.
Is it mimicry? Is it really Billy? Is it someone else? Maybe it's Jane, and she knows the history of Billy, and she just wants to act like Billy for the day. We have no idea, And this is the cool thing about the experience with Father Mike and that building is I got to see a before and after. Most of the places that we've investigated are public locations. They don't get blessed. They don't get exercised. They are a tourist attraction for people to go have these experiences. So you don't try to get rid of it. Well, some people do. They try to cross things over. I got different opinions on that. But seeing a before and after was really neat because I got to see it got taken care of. It's gone. And part of the investigator aspect, like the hallway, I've been in buildings where, boy, something really feels off. But it turns out the floor's not level.
Yeah.
And the floor is a little bit skewed, and you can, you take a little level and you can measure that. And anybody who walks on an unlevel floor and the rest of the building looks level will feel like something is off.
Right. There'll be something wonky.
Yeah.
So part of the investigator aspect and not feeling fear is looking for all of that. You're looking for all of the explanations that can be until you come down with something that, okay, no matter what I explore, this is not known. There is something I cannot tell you what this is. And some people it freaks out. Look, I've been on investigations where somebody saw something and they never investigated again. Somebody that we knew saw something in really just a beautiful church. It wasn't a church anymore, but saw something and it was very, very vivid.
Yeah.
Nobody else saw it. They saw it and they were done. They won't come near the stuff anymore.
Did they tell you what they saw?
Yeah, they saw people.
They saw people. Okay.
Yeah, people, a bunch of them that were there. And there were people at that place. I mean, it was very, very active place. And, it's, that fear is real. Some people, just aren't meant to do that thing. Just like some people aren't meant to be exorcists.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just occurred to me that I guess the worst enemy of somebody who owns one of these places that's being investigated is an exorcist. You stay away. I don't want you. Nobody's exercising my cash cow.
Yeah,
that's right. No, they do, and there are places that will have policies that you are not to try to cross over or perform any ritual cleansing of the location.
Right.
They'll put it in their fine print.
All right. I have a mystery, a real mystery that happened today.
Cool.
Okay. Caroline. Well, one thing Caroline said a long time ago was the only reason my house has a kitchen is because it was here when I got here.
Look at Justin.
That's funny.
That's funny.
She said, otherwise, it would just all be takeout. It'd all be,
Hello.
I don't want to do anything when it comes to food. I love to cook. And so it's basically my kitchen. Okay. And I can tell you where everything in that kitchen is. And I can tell you every piece of equipment and silverware that we've got. I went to bed last night, kitchen immaculate, everything put away, everything clean, floor clean, trash can empty, nothing for Stewie to get into and eat. If you leave anything out, Stewie will figure out a way to get into it and eat it.
Sounds like Thor.
And in the sink, I go get it if you want me to, but you can picture it's a green Tupperware lid. Not the container, just the green Tupperware lid.
Where'd that come from? Nobody got up during the night? Or?
Caroline, any idea where this green Tupperware lid came from? Well, I used to have Tupperware stuff. Back when I had the kitchen I didn't want, but did you put this green Tupperware lid in the sink? No. I guarantee you I didn't get up in the middle of the night and go find a green Tupperware lid that I don't have and put it in the sink. I don't think any of my neighbors came down and put a Tupperware lid in my sink. So where'd that Tupperware lid come from? I mean, I'm not really frightened by it, but I do look at it and say, man, that's pretty weird.
Time to bless the house.
And then my mind goes into, well, maybe I forgot, put a Tupperware lid somewhere where I didn't expect it, but I've never owned this lid. All right, open to thoughts. Aside from blessing the house, which is probably always a good idea.
Well, just if you put, even if you knew you had it, and let's say you put the dishes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And beyond the shadow of a doubt, you put that daggum green lid up. In the bottom cabinet or wherever.
Right. It's the weird cabinet over the sink or whatever. Yeah.
I guess Casper, the friendly damn ghost, moved it over there. I don't know.
Have it. It's a thing I don't have.
Do you have the base for the Tupperware lid?
Yeah. You got the bowl for the lid?
No, I told you. It's just the lid.
You need to ask them, if you're going to give me the lid, next time, can you give me the bowl?
I'll use it.
That is
It's
fair.
not going to do you any good.
Well, also you see these YouTube videos of ghosts that can do things like they seem particularly interested in kitchen cabinets. They spend a lot of time opening kitchen cabinets and stuff like that. Damn it, if you can open a cabinet, you can put something away.
Yeah.
It's like,
if you're done with it, wash it and dry it and put it up if
Put
you're
it
done.
away.
Well, I'll tell you another one. Last week, Laura it wasn't last week. It was this week, Monday. Laura gets home from work and she goes to plug in her phone, and her phone has USB, cable plugged into the wall by the nightstand.
Yeah.
It's draped over the nightstand. When she unplugs it in the morning, falls to the floor sometimes. She goes to pick it up and pulls up half of it. The thing's been cut in half.
It's been cut in half.
Wow.
It's been cut in half, not chewed in half. It's one of those that's got the, the braid around
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no chew marks on the braid. It's not frayed. It's been cut.
Just like someone took scissors and
Just like someone took scissors. I'm looking at the copper, and it's a thick one too. And I'm looking at the copper. It's been cut.
Well, that's not nice.
Now,
So,
that
but that's awesome. That's awesome. And
it's not awesome. I got to buy
It is.
another
I know,
$20 cord.
Neither of these things are awesome.
no, I'm not talking about that.
I don't want to be ghost goodwill.
The thing
I
is
think
that morning I
funny.
remember making the bed and pulling that cord off of it. It was whole. It was on the bed, and pulling it off of it. She comes home. It's on the floor. It's in two pieces.
And
She's
them
like,
cords
well,
are
we have all these
expensive.
little robot vacuums. Well, maybe the vacuum went in there. She looks on her app. Nope, it didn't even run today.
Well, the vacuum's not going to surgically cut it in half.
Well,
I mean,
exactly. Even if
like
it
a
did, it
knife
should have
or-
chewed it up, right? It
Yeah.
shouldn't. It just be a crimp, cut.
No, that could only happen through deliberate will.
Yes.
yeah.
Someone wielding an instrument.
So again, time to bless the house.
All right, Dave, look at this.
What am I looking at? Green
I'm
Tupperware lid?
I'm trying to show you the Tupperware lid, but I pick it up. and
Wow.
it green screens away.
That's
So
some serious AI right there.
but here it is. Okay, so you see it's not a little thing. Okay.
Hey, that's friendly.
That's your lid. Okay. So now we know what's going on. That's fine. But
Do you still have the bowl?
yeah,
Look
got
and
the
see if
bowl.
that's
Can
at
you-
Father Mike's house.
Can you bring the bowl back? This, look, I've got some more thoughts about
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
I rarely buy lettuce, okay, because you use it for one or two sandwiches or a burger or something, and then it's 10 days before you need to put lettuce on something else. And lettuce doesn't last that well. So I
No,
rarely
it don't.
What's that?
I said, no, it doesn't. And that's aggravating.
It is. I rarely buy lettuce, but I was talking to Caroline. I said, my mom had a thing.
Wait a minute. Is that the lid? I'm
This is the
sorry.
lid.
I'm walking in late.
Yeah, this is the lid. Okay. And
That's cool.
and,
No
and so-
base. You got anything that'll fit?
And you're probably
No!
right, Vic. That's probably to a lettuce keeper,
I think it's for a
Yeah.
lettuce keeper.
given the color.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was talking to Caroline, no joke, about 5 days ago, because we
Oh,
made
this gets better.
bacon,
Oh, man.
lettuce, and tomato sandwiches.
Love it.
Okay, I love bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches. We've got a farmer's market, an Amish farmer's market, just right down the street, and it's only open on Fridays. So on Fridays, I go get my vegetables for the week at the Amish farmer's market. And I was saying, my mom used to have this little thing that had, slots in the bottom and had a little spike that you could put the lettuce on.
Yeah.
And you could put your lettuce in there and you could put it in your refrigerator and it would stay fresh for a reasonable period of time.
And another trick is wrap it up in paper towel first.
Yeah.
And then do
Paper
it.
towels help.
And then do it. Okay. And I said, it was a little green thing called a lettuce. And I think it was called a lettuce keeper or something.
Yep. That's
Yeah.
a lettuce keeper.
And I swear that's what this lid is too. It seems so similar to
Okay.
what I remember my mother having.
So let's
Well,
break
go
it down.
I'm going. Wow, you're breaking it down. I'm going to Amazon.com and
Man,
there's three.
I feel kind of special. I mean, I don't know anybody else who's woken up with a extra
There's
foreign.
three possibilities here.
Uh-huh.
All right. The first is
oh my
that-
God,
let's,
hold on,
let's
hold
go
on.
with the negative one first. The first one is
Can any of y'all see that?
Oh yeah. It's got that little
Yeah.
spike
There it
down
is.
there.
yeah, that's a lettuce keeper. Yep.
Got that little spike down
There you
there. Yeah.
Okay, so the first possibility, we'll go negative all the way. Something demonic is messing with Vic, and it's materializing that to let it know it's paying attention to him. All right.
Well, but then I
I'm
wonder.
listening.
I mean,
I'm watching.
even double negative. Does that mean that Mrs. Perry upstairs doesn't have her lid
Oh,
anymore?
somebody's missing a lid somewhere.
Somebody blew their lid off.
That's exactly it. Okay,
I'm
so
gonna
that's
blow
the
my
first
lid in a
possibility.
minute.
Now I gotta go through and look at all of our Tupperware and make sure we're not missing a lid.
Yeah, so if you got a Let's Keeper, you need to check it out. Vic may need to mail that to you. So the second possibility is, Barbara, this old lady who used to live in the apartment, has passed, and she's been watching Vic, and she just wants to help Vic out.
Right.
And she's like,
I got to get him a lettuce keeper.
John Smith down the hallway, he never uses his lettuce keeper. It's sat in the top cabinet for months. I'm going to take it to Vic piece by piece. I'm going to start with the lid. Next week, I'll bring him the little spike thing, and then I'll bring the bowl. Okay.
But she can't do it all at one time because she's got to rebuild her ghostly energy.
Only so much energy to spend.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. That's
I'm
possibility
digging it.
number 2.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Vic's insane. Okay. And Vic bought that lid at a yard sale, hoping that he'd find the rest of the lettuce keeper somewhere, and he's completely blocked it out of his memory. What do you think, Vic? Which door you want to go through?
Well, like I've said, I've never, ever totally discounted the possibility of being insane.
You want the red pill or the blue pill?
How much whiskey did you have tonight?
Hello.
I haven't had anything.
Didn't share with me.
I haven't had anything but communion wine since 1980.
Okay. Oh,
That he remembers.
all right. Well,
All right, Father Justin. So along those lines, what do you think is going on there? What, given your experience and the not having experiences like that, how would you explain it?
Right. I'm going to go probably what Vic said earlier, is in that he probably just forgot. How old are you, Vic?
None of your business.
Oh man, dude's reaching there.
I am the oldest. Let's just say that I believe I'm the oldest person here.
I'll be 49 in April.
Okay.
He's older than me, Justin.
He's older than. Oh, okay.
All right, guys. I am.
Oh,
Wow.
Justin says,
I
"Wow."
am-
I would not have pegged that. You looked younger. You looked,
I am,
Yeah.
for the record,
you know.
60.
I have forgotten moments too. So I there's things that I put down that I'm like, I don't know how they got there. Where did they go?
I am
He
66
is
years
about to
old.
blow
You know,
your
so-
mind. There you go. Say that again.
I am 66 years old.
That blows your mind,
You
doesn't it? It did mine.
Are you serious?
Look at
Absolutely.
Justin. Yep.
Absolutely.
He
And later-
also,
and later today,
he
I'll-
eats healthy and works out. too.
Later today,
Don't-
I'll go
don't-
and do 3 miles at the gym. I'm healthy. I'm lucky.
He's
I'm,
earned that.
I'm absolutely blessed, if you want the truth.
Honestly, I thought you were the second youngest behind Josh.
Nope. I'm the oldest person here by a margin.
Sorry, Dave. Dave, I didn't mean to
No,
call you
no,
old.
look,
It's just-
man.
you
I've
know,
had a
it's-
lot of hard miles. It's okay.
No. Well, look. I mean, but the thing is,
Vic and myself are
Congratulations.
the oldest.
I've got.
So the forgetfulness is a real thing. Okay.
Well, no.
Okay.
I've got what's called an eidetic memory. I can remember
Okay.
just
Alrighty.
about everything that's ever happened in my life. And I've been cooking in this kitchen for 5 years. Believe.
Okay, so I think we need to interview your wife
No. Yeah.
and ask questions about the bowl, the lettuce keeper, the lid.
Yeah.
You know, That would maybe confirm or disprove that notion.
I'll tell you what, though. I think
And if
it
she
were-
goes, he has been misplacing that darn lid for 3
Hello.
months now, and
Is it an elf on a shelf kind of a situation?
not that I know of. I don't feel any negative feelings in the house. My house is a place of safety and love and warmth.
so we're gonna go with the ghost.
I'm going to
Barbara
go
theory.
with Mrs. Berkeley or whatever you called her.
Okay.
That young man needs him a lettuce keeper.
All right. All right.
Hey, Vic, if you guys don't mind, since we've had a great little bit of conversation on several things, And I want to say it's leading us right into alien abductions. Because here's my theory.
An alien could have teleported
There
the
you
lid
go.
to this scene.
Alien abduction.
There you go.
How could I be so stupid?
But we've talked about all this other stuff. Well, I mean, we might as well bring the aliens into it as well.
You know, people wake up from an alien abductions with their pajamas on backwards. You know, or you know, they wake up in the morning, their pajamas are on backwards, they've got scoops in their skin. I haven't checked for that. You know, things are wrong. Well, it could be the alien said, "Hey, we got a lot of crap we haven't sent back. Let's just send some back with this guy." But
well, you know, they dematerialize. What do they call it, Father Mike? When they make something disappear. Dematerialize would be a scientific term. What's the
teleport? Teleportation.
They just make it disappear because you don't know where it's going.
Right.
It's the opposite of when they like make the nails show up when someone's puking in an exorcism.
Right.
That'd be materializing. I guess just dematerialize. So they dematerialize all this stuff. It's got to go somewhere. You're right.
True. Yeah. But alien abductions, I am not too sure. And this goes right along with everything that we've been talking about. Do we believe that there's other entities out there, or is it folks dealing with the demonic? What are they dealing with? Or is it personal, emotional psychosis crap that they're dealing with?
So let's break it down. 4 possible categories. And then, Vic, I'll hand it to you.
There you go.
Personally, I believe that there are absolutely other physical, God-created entities in the universe.
Well, God can do whatever he wants to
probably
do.
trillions of them. Okay, the universe is a pretty big place. Okay, and I'm not going to limit God to say you can only work in this part of the universe. You can only, create things that, look like me and Father Mike and everybody else. No, I'm not limiting God along those lines.
Right.
It's really hard.
That doesn't mean they're abducting people.
No, it's really hard for them to get here. I know that. Okay, let's say because the closest place we know that they could be is 4 light years away, and we can't move anywhere at the speed of light, and maybe they can. But
based on current physics that we know.
Based on current physics, it's going to take them tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years to get here.
But if you take what we've learned about physics in the past 100 years and multiply that exponentially times 10,000 years, there's plenty of stuff that they could have learned to travel. So it may take them the blink of an eye.
Right.
And they just tap into the power of the local sun or whatever.
Right. So, I mean, I know that if they can get here, there's no reason to worry about it.
Unless you're one of the ones being abducted.
Well, but
anybody else, it's okay.
If they can get here and they can do bad things to us, we don't have a chance to fight against it.
That's correct. I agree with that.
Just say, hello, space brothers.
Yep.
Please don't kill all of us. That's about all we can do. We can't do a darn thing about it.
So that's one possibility is that there are aliens, actual physical aliens coming here, abducting people to learn something about them. That's one.
Second is sort of the leprechaun theory. Okay, so if you were let me finish, Dave.
No, I'm listening.
If you were a peasant in Scotland or in England and you were listening to your fellows, part of your world was the Fae, the wee folk, the mischievous people in the woods who would take you away for 20 years. You'd go out in the woods, you'd go to sleep, and in 20 years they'd bring you back. Okay, so there's this archetype of this something that interferes in human life. Purposes unknown. You really don't know exactly what their motives are. So there's always been that.
So now I'm up to 5. Okay, you added
up to
one.
5.
Good. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. Well, I have, as I think everybody here has, seen directly what I believe to be demonic activity. It is powerful. It is malicious. And it is infinitely capable of deception.
Yes.
Maybe not infinitely capable, but heavily capable of deception. So that could certainly be part of what's going on.
That's number 3.
That's number 3. I mean, I suppose you could have something where humans from the future were coming back in time and saying, you know, we're running out of the gene that lets us process adenine. So let's go back and get some humans and bring them up to our time.
That is one theory that's tossed around. So I guess there's 6.
That's
6.
True. And I guess I'm running out of them. So you fill in the
that
others.
leaves 2. So that's 4. So there's 2.
What about, let's think about this route, Vic. What about Ender's Game?
Oh, where you've got this hive mind living on a planet somewhere far away, and they come here not realizing that we're even alive.
Right.
Still an alien, though.
Still an alien. Yeah, but they didn't have any negative intent toward us.
No.
They just didn't think of us as being anything worth worrying about.
And then we
Just
got the
the
Borg.
ants.
Justin, did you hear that? Then we have the Borg.
Yeah, but the Borg wouldn't abduct and release, right? They would abduct and assimilate. So nobody would ever come back. Mm-hmm. So number 5 to me is government psyop.
Ah, yes. Okay.
You cannot dismiss that. I
agree.
And that is, you know, when I see a lot of people online talking about it, they tend to break it down into real alien abduction mixed with government psyop, mixed with demonic activity. Those 3 are interwoven into what is really, really happening.
Okay.
Again, unprovable at this point.
Yeah.
And unless you can get into the government, you know.
Well, unless there's a record
logs
that Big Balls can find.
Yes, exactly. Yes. I love it. You brought Big Balls into the conversation. That's awesome. Thank you, Vic. I hadn't even thought of that. Is perfect. Yeah, if Big Balls can, and he could find documentation of the government psyop or of the alien. You know, we've made an agreement to allow them to abduct so many people a year to do their alien hybrid program. Number 6, you're just plain crazy. So we're back to that is always a possibility.
Let me give you some evidence to me being crazy. I've told you this, but Father Justin might find it entertaining. When I first read the book Communion by Whitley Strieber, are you familiar with that book at all, Father Justin?
No.
Okay, Whitley Strieber wrote this book, and it's got the standard gray alien face on the front of it, and he tells this lifelong story of, you know, being abducted and anally probed and going through all these horrible things, and you know, his life being turned upside down.
Did he get probed?
Yeah,
I don't remember that in the book. I remember not sleeping after that book. That book terrified me.
Well, what he said he was raped. Okay, is what he said.
Okay.
And he said that they seem to be concerned if you have flashlights. If you point a flashlight at the sky, it's like an invitation or something. I lived in Katy, Texas, and I had friends out farther west of me who were rice farmers. And they said I could come out to their farms and fish and do stuff anytime I wanted. So I got in my little Toyota pickup truck, got the most powerful flashlight I could find, drove out to Katy, found a big rice field to park in out there, and took my flashlight and spent about 2 hours, you know, clicking this.
Wow.
You know, Vic, now they come to green lasers. It's not flashlights anymore.
They come to green lasers.
Green laser.
Well, I didn't have a green laser, but
Okay.
as far as I know, I was never abducted. You know, so
well, you might not remember.
I might not remember.
You need to go under hypnosis to find out if it really happened.
I feel like I've talked way too much tonight, but my younger son has 3 big scoop marks on his back that I guarantee you were not there when he was born. Okay, I was the first person to see his back, and they were not there when he was born.
Now, see, that is a symptom of being abducted. It does,
Absolutely.
They do follow the family lines down. That is the thing.
And I can remember Connor was about 15, and I look on his back and, Connor, what are those? What, Dad? So we go to the mirror and we look at Connor's back, and there are 3. Okay, you know how when you put a penny in one of those things they have at amusement parks where it turns into a long penny, and it's it stamps Custer's head on it or something. That's what they're shaped exactly like that.
And there no serious skateboard accident or something in gravel.
No. And then there's no. It doesn't. That it looks like normal tissue that's just been, like, part of it's been taken away.
It actually sinks in. It
actually sinks in.
Concave.
Yes.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. And there's no pain associated with it. There's nothing under there.
You ever have any issues with MRIs? Weird things showing up, or It took him a second. Yeah.
Well, you have no idea what I was thinking about there, and I'm not going to tell you. At least
Listen, I forget where it was, but recently was hearing a story about someone who had an implant that it actually moved when you would try to take it out.
Oh yeah, that's a standard John Lear story.
That it would, it would like move to a different part of the body.
Yeah, they would move.
That's crazy. So, Father Justin, what are your thoughts on aliens? What do you think?
This is one of those things that I told Josh when, because I listened to the previous podcast to kind of get an idea of what I was getting into, and he told me, Josh was telling me a little bit about this, and I'm like, dude, I don't have any insight, any knowledge, any understanding of aliens and all this and that stuff. And he goes, "Oh, you'll be fine." I'm like, "Okay,"
and that's okay.
So I'm at this point, I'm learning from you guys, and it's one of those things that as we're going, here's the first thing that comes in my head is that I have been, whether it's naive or just arrogant, to think that what I focus on is
I'm sorry.
My Apple Watch is talking to me here.
Oh, so
that's what it was.
Where it came from. Okay. So
I just heard I'm sorry.
Okay, so you have debunked.
You have debunked it.
I'm sorry.
That's not nice.
But see, I didn't feel that the first
needed.
time. I knew this one, when it said I'm sorry, it also vibrated and I felt it. The other one, I didn't feel anything. So I don't know if that came from me or
it sounded the same.
It was the same
that
voice.
would be my guess.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that.
And my watch sometimes will vibrate and sometimes it won't. It has a mind of its own. It really annoys the heck out of me.
You're right.
Well,
but anyway, just realizing that how arrogant I could be thinking of. I get so narrow-minded in my own little world that I don't ponder these greater things that in my, like I said, my
I don't think that's arrogance.
My egotistical mindset of thinking that's just hogwash.
Well, that was
but
me.
At the same time, I have to. But I have to stop and go. Wait a minute. I can't be like that. There's obviously people have had their experiences, and I need to stop long enough to listen
Vic,
to that.
we broke Father Mike. Now we're on our way there. We're getting there with Father Justin.
Yeah.
All right, Father Justin. Let's just assume the existence of aliens, intelligent aliens. For whatever reason, they decided to come to Earth. They're not abducting anymore. They're just landing on the White House lawn.
Oh, God, shut up, Mike. I'm going to mute myself where I don't.
On the White House lawn. And, and they got MAGA hats on.
Just go out, meet the president, shake hands. Well, it's little small hands.
But they're here for whatever reason.
Is he human?
And they realize that, these humans spend a lot of time thinking about things like the state of their soul. Okay? They spend a lot of time worrying about, am I acceptable in the eyes of God? They spend a lot of time thinking about rituals that to us seem somewhat unusual, but to them are critically important. Said alien decides, I've read a lot about all of this, and I think I'd like to be baptized. I mean, I think that John Paul II addressed that issue. He said, well, if they're sentient creations of God, I'm virtually obligated to baptize them. You're muted, Father Mike.
I said, yeah, come on. If you want to be baptized, I'll take care of you.
I'll baptize anybody. Sure,
first thing I'm going to do is make sure that there ain't no demons in you, because the rite of baptism, first and foremost, is a form of exorcism.
It's a form of exorcism, yeah.
Come on, yeah.
I'm sorry, Father Justin, you said something, but I couldn't hear what you said.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the baptism aspect, I got no problem. I may not understand it. You may look funny to me. I would ask to put clothes on, whatever that, just
seems a completely fair request.
But as far as baptizing them, sure, absolutely, no problem. It's no different than anything else I wouldn't understand from anybody else, that how they live their life, and what they look at as far as I mean, it's just I go back to this as far as my you're raised in a certain way, and you think that certain way, and you think that that's the only way that life can look, until you run into other humans and realize, wait a minute, there's a whole nother way of looking at things.
Great answer. Yes.
And I have to, I can't diminish what they see or what they've experienced. And that's the thing I've learned so much about. And so when it comes to an alien, if an alien approached me and looked like this guy on the cover of this book that Josh has put up here, would I be have questions and concerns for my own, mental? Am I seeing what I'm seeing? Sure, but if they ask to be baptized, absolutely, let's baptize you. Let's go through,
Okay, so Vic, your qualifier for that was they're a sentient being, right? They can think, they can ask for this.
Great, yeah.
Now let's take that along a slightly altered path.
A sentient's a key word.
Let's. I would rather use the word, if we can, sapient.
Okay.
Sapient. Sapient.
What does that mean?
Define that for me versus sentient.
Sentient is just the intellect.
Okay.
Right.
Sapient is you have both the intellect and the emotion and the hopes and the dreams and all that.
Okay. All right. So I can still go down this path.
Okay.
We have done experiments with apes.
Uh-huh.
And I forget exactly which kind. I was trying to find it real quick and I couldn't. But we have done, tests where they work puzzles. They actually communicate using language prompts, right? And respond.
Dave, can I interject one question there?
Sure.
And and the only reason why I'm doing it is it's gonna add to what you're saying. With the word sapient and the way Vic described it,
which is somewhat different from what Josh just put up there.
Yeah, that is me. If you're gonna listen to me. If you're gonna
I'm laughing at what Josh wrote.
Okay. If you are going to use the word sapient, that's being created in the image of God in the way that you described it.
Right.
All right, go ahead, Dave. And I'm gonna look at Josh's reply, but I'm blind.
So I know that we had this one ape or primate that we were working with that was communicating.
Koko.
Yeah, that's it. Koko.
And there have been
yeah,
others.
yeah, yeah.
There have been others.
I
So
remember Koko.
Yeah.
if we reached a point with Koko where Koko was told through communication the gospel and wanted to be baptized, what would you do there?
Well, I'm not qualified to baptize.
Well, of course you are.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
I
you
know,
are.
but that's not the way it normally goes. I mean, they taught us in
Right.
nursing school how to baptize.
Well, in cases of emergency, any believer, any baptized believer
Mhm.
is qualified to give last rites and baptism.
But you're not
Don't
not
come
unqualified to
until
give a
the
thought.
bubbles.
No, I'm not qualified to give a thought. I'm
What do
going to
you
let
think, Father
somebody.
Justin?
I'm going to let somebody else give a thought while I think.
What's Koko? Who's Koko?
Koko
It
was
was
a
an ape.
gorilla
Gorilla.
Gorilla, that's
okay.
it.
Okay. I'm sorry.
that was
Very wise gorilla.
well, it was taught language. It was taught human language, sign language.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And so and Koko could do creative things. Like she got some ice cream one time, and she didn't know the sign for ice cream, but she knew the sign for chocolate and she knew the sign for cold. And she could put together the idea of, cold chocolate, whatever those symbols were.
Cool.
So there was at least some degree of manipulation of ideas in her mind. At least I think that's an indication of manipulation of ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty extensive, the amount of communicating they were
Right.
able to do.
So she was putting together concepts from base words that were beyond the base words.
So what do you do in that situation?
So the question then, Dave, if I remember correctly, is if Koko signed or asked to be baptized by
Yeah.
signing.
If they did. Yeah.
If they did, if really was able to do that. Well, part of baptism is also confession. So I don't. I don't know how. I've never been asked this question before, so I don't.
Well, I had never thought of it myself.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Right. I'm asking from the standpoint of if the gorilla can go through and confess their sins, I don't know. I don't know what I've never.
Well, first off, you'd have to start to think, is a gorilla capable of sinning? That's one of the questions you'd have to come up with. Is
Then we're going to go down. What is sin?
Well, of course, all of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to go. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
It's
my
not.
initial thought would be no, but at the same time, because I think man was created. We were created in the image of God, where beasts were not, and so I think that there's that difference there. We're called to be different than the beasts, called to be different than the.
Well,
they
we
can
were
do,
called to have authority over the beast.
right, but
But we can't overlook. Josh, look this up and correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't overlook St. Francis. That he would actually once a year bless all the animals that people had. And people were in great uproar with all about that. How dare you give blessings to something that has no soul, or this or that and the other? Well, his answer were, you're stupid. You don't know the mind of God. God created all these animals for us. So why not bless them? In which I can't argue that fact.
Yeah,
So
and,
with
and,
Koko,
and blessing something
And
really
that-
is placing something under the authority of God, right? Is eliminating any evil influence from whatever it is you're blessing. So whether that be a animal
that's
or a house
baptism
or
as
whatever.
well. Yeah.
Very good point. Yeah.
Well, you have an Australian
I
Shepherd.
hadn't thought
don't-
about it that way. Very good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Father Mike, don't you have an Australian Shepherd?
Yes.
Yes.
He's in there with Josh right now. He was actually
was.
he was actually attacking Josh a moment ago. That's why I was laughing. He was jumping on top of Josh's head, and he's a big old.
Big old boy.
Well,
Yeah.
but they're very smart dogs.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just imagine that German Shepherd, that Australian Shepherd were twice as smart as he is right now.
Oh, he scared snot out of me because this dog. No, you got to understand. This dog comes into my room every morning and talks to me. He'll be all that kind of stuff,
Right.
until I get up, and then he's happy. He's telling me, Mike, get up.
Does he, let's say you're having the worst pain day you've ever had.
He loves on me like nothing else.
Does he understand the fact that you're having tremendous pain?
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
he'll come lay on top of me
Okay.
and try to.
Hmm.
I can't explain it, but if you look at him in his actions, he's saying, "I'm going to take it away from you."
Oh, I have no question about that.
Yeah.
No question. I was part of I was there when it happened, but where MD Anderson started studying certain dogs that could smell cancer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they could smell cancer. You know, they were taking blood samples and putting them in, say, a dozen different urine sample containers down the hall. And these dogs, or two of them, you know, they'd walk down the hall, sniff, 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 go to the next one, sniff, sniff, and then at the end, they would come back to the one that had blood from a cancer patient in it.
Wow.
Okay, and then they tried to trip them up. So they'd put one at one end and one at the other. And the dog would first off look a little confused, and then he'd just walk back and forth between those two, putting his paw down in front of them. And then go ahead, Dave.
Well, no, I keep going. I've got a thought forming, but go for it.
Yeah, and then it got to the point where they made the samples less and less, and finally it was just if you'd worn a T-shirt for a day next to your skin, it could smell that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I have no doubt in that.
in
Go ahead,
the
gentlemen.
case you're talking about a sensory capability,
Yes, the sensory capability.
right? And the ability to apply that to some basic training. Well, probably not basic, probably complex training. So there's a certain intelligence, but there is not. You got to wonder. There are lots of smart animals, and there's different levels of smart dogs. An Australian Shepherd versus a Beagle, or versus whatever. There are different levels of intelligence, even within a species of animal. Where does it rise up to the point of having the intellect, the sapience, whatever you want to call it, that human level view of self, ability to communicate, ability to understand their situation in the world, generate higher thoughts?
Yeah, right. Where does
Right?
that
that creative thought beyond just move, eat, sleep, do whatever I'm trained to do?
You had wanted to do a show about Thomas Campbell, and Father Justin, please do not feel like I'm ignoring you.
No, I'm thinking the whole time. I'm listening
Yeah,
to what
just
you guys are saying.
please don't
because
think
it's
I'm
causing me
ignoring
to
you.
think. No.
And you said that Thomas Campbell had a very specific definition for what it meant to be created in the image of God.
Right. Yes.
And that was not the definition that we normally think of.
Correct. And it was.
Well, it was something
I have
like
to go back to my notes.
It was something like the ability to think creatively.
Well, it's it's consciousness.
Consciousness.
It's a level of consciousness that he was describing. And the question, is that the image of God? We think about the image of God as being this human form physically, right? But maybe
Not
that's
really.
not really what it is describing at all. Well, I mean, most people, when they think of in the image of God, that's the form
Right, there's
of man, the physical form of man.
Anthropomorphization of God.
Right.
Yes.
But if you have a insectoid alien that looks like, a great big bug, but has a soul and has an intellect and has a consciousness, it might be what you don't see that's the image of God more than what you physically see.
The best.
I ask you a question.
No,
Yeah,
please.
This is something I need
I've been way too dominating.
You guys are making me think, and I like that. And it's because you brought up consciousness. It's like, okay, what's the definition of consciousness? And this is something I don't have on top of my head, so I'm asking the question.
I would say
What is
that
the definition of consciousness?
consciousness comes from the soul of man, the mind, the will, and the emotions.
Okay.
And within the mind, we gain that consciousness of our thought, our word, our deed, if you will.
Yeah.
But also it affects not only, remember I said the soul of man is our mind. We just discussed that, but those aspects from the mind affects the soul, and then the soul affects the physical body. So this conscience, if you will, is the driving force of everything that we do daily as the race of man. And within that level of consciousness, if you will, we have a choice of following or not following, doing what our conscious being is seeing, or not doing it, depending on the right and wrong, which comes from also the soul of man. And I probably just confused a lot of people.
No,
but
you didn't confuse
No,
me.
No, it's the reason I'm asking is because my natural thinking of consciousness is I mean, conscious persons means I have a train of thought. And I think it's deeper than that, because if that's the case, then in order to, because I'm coming back to the original question that David brought up about baptizing. It's like, then if we're baptizing babies, do they have a conscious train of thought of what's going on and what's happening?
Well, having watched thousands and thousands of babies,
that's where that mystery comes in that I don't understand.
right?
Well, it is a mystery. It is a mystery, and I will agree with you on that. But we are implanting that consciousness as parents and as the generations. Just as oh God, you just brought up a whole nother episode.
Yeah, that's an ending the curse episode.
As soon as a baby, look, we're getting into all kinds of things here, but
these are the rabbit holes that we enjoy.
One of the things I have had extremely pro-abortion people talking about is, look, prior to birth, there's no mental activity, there's nothing. There's no personality, there's no personhood there.
And we know the Holy Scripture.
You've never watched a pregnancy. I mean,
true.
I mean, believe me, when that child is born into the world, it's fully who he is. This is not a palimpsest. You know that word palimpsest? It means blank slate. It's not a blank slate that you're writing upon. It's already there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's already there, 100%. And you can see it. And then those eyes open and you see the way they behave and the way they hold their mouth.
I love how you put that.
It is, you can think back. My first boy, my first son, he was a tornado. I would watch my I would watch my wife's belly.
Yeah.
And he was just boom, 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 pow. And, he'd get a foot kind of stuck up somewhere, and you just see his whole foot go.
Oh, yeah.
Vic, do you know what the greatest thing about that is?
Well, it was very entertaining.
Well, no, yeah.
For you, maybe not as much for her.
Because I remember seeing Sonia's belly with Josh moving around. I'm like, my God, does that hurt? She said, well, it doesn't hurt, but it's not comfortable.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't feel good.
Yeah, but the thing that gets me about everything that you just said, it fulfills the word of David, of where God spoke to David and said, I knew you and formed you in your mother's womb.
Mm-hmm.
And what you and Dave and Justin has been describing is a fulfillment, if you will, not only of the Psalm, but in Genesis, the beginning. Let us create man in our own image. And that was the purpose of the woman with the womb.
Sure.
And everything that y'all, I'm literally not trying to go down a rabbit hole or take this in that direction, but it just hit me all of a sudden. That's a realization and a fulfillment of the scripture in the way that you were just describing it.
Well, even if you just keep it secular, even if you just keep it from a physical standpoint, and don't even relate it to scripture at all.
Right.
The pregnancy, while that child is growing, the things that the mother goes through and the things that the child goes through shape their personality in how they live. Think of all the mothers that are playing classical music to their bellies.
Right.
In order to form the mind a certain way, in order to help that child think differently, or someone who's super physical versus not, any trauma that's undergone, and the effect of drugs potentially on the child.
I was going to bring that up. Right? Yeah.
All of these things affect that child and how they act after birth. So when I think of consciousness, I think there are levels. There's the first thing I think of when I think of conscious is the ability to think. That's like the bottom entry level of consciousness. I can think. I form a plan to do something and I do it. It's beyond just living in that perfect Zen state of just the moment, right? But then they're above that, because even, and I hunt deer, even a deer thinks. A deer, they do stuff. But there's this beyond that, this sense of self. They have that. But then there's the recognition of right and wrong. As a concept, there are concepts, the ability to form concepts that have nothing to do with just physical reality. The ability to tell stories, the ability to think creatively about things that don't exist. These are parts of consciousness, and I don't know how I would wrap them all up into a word. I'm sure philosophy has some word for that. But that is a level of consciousness that humans have that I think most animals don't. Mm-hmm. And you see that in how they act. But you start getting into primates, it may be a little closer. And that's why I asked about Koko and that. I think there's more of that. And to your point, creative putting together of language, Vic, beyond just, good, bad, I like it, I don't. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. It's these
I'm thinking
abstract concepts.
I'm thinking back to my time at the Huntsville State School in Texas, where there were a lot of kids who they were just too much for their parents to take care of. Okay, they were brain damaged, different things going on, different disease processes, and normal people just couldn't take care of them. There were a lot of these kids. And they ranged from kids who, on first meeting, almost seemed normal to kids who I'm not sure had ever had a thought beyond need to go to the bathroom, a thought beyond need some food, thought beyond that hurts, things like that. I'm not sure
that's that lower level.
That lower level, but nobody that I know who is a believer in Christ would say that they didn't have a soul. Every bit as valuable as my soul. I don't, I know secular people who would say they're not worth our time. We should just gently euthanize them.
Right.
I heard that particular argument from physicians at the Huntsville School. The level of consciousness necessary for us routinely to assign ensoulment is relatively low.
So let's think about it in terms of potential as opposed to realized. In a case where a child does not have the ability to think beyond those basic survival mechanisms, it's not because they don't have the potential to do that. Something physically has limited that potential.
Correct.
So that they can't realize it. But as a species, we know we all have that potential. And as a species, we look at deer or we look at bobcats or turtles, they don't seem to have that ability. We've never seen an example of one that goes beyond that. Otherwise, we'd see, different levels of communication or something, some sign of that.
Well, all I know is when it comes to deer, you said you were a deer hunter. Feel free to come back up and fill my freezer up.
I need to fill my freezer up. I haven't been hunting in a long time.
But see, that just goes back to the unknown.
All right.
We don't know. Go ahead, Vic.
I'm going to try to start winding us down. I want to finish this out. And this is a discussion of consciousness, a discussion of soul, a discussion of perception. And it's something we've talked about on the show before that is still one of the strangest things that I've ever encountered. Father Justin, did you ever listen to the old Art Bell show?
Art Bell? No.
Okay, Art Bell was a radio host. Mainly he did his work at night, and he talked about all these things. And he was the best there ever was and probably the best there ever will be. He had a guest one night that touches on all these questions in what originally I thought of as simply being humorous. But the more I've thought about it and the more I've listened to it, I think it's a genuinely profound set of questions. And he had a guy on there who did not want to give his full name, but he referred to himself as Jason the Horse.
I knew it was going to come to that. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I figured you'd have figured it out.
That was coming up in my mind. I'm like, how is he going to Jason and the Horse? Okay. I was right. Keep going.
Well, Jason the Horse, Jason the Horse was a very articulate, calm, intelligent, open man who was happy to talk to Art Bell and tell him everything he thought. But in his mind, he was a horse. He was a horse in a human body. And
who had been reincarnated multiple times.
Who had been reincarnated multiple times as a horse. Had always been a gelding, right? He had never been a stallion.
That's correct.
Never been a stallion. And so Art Bell was asking him things like, well, somehow the topic got around to his sex drive. And, I just really don't have much of a sex drive. And that's probably because I've always been a gelding. And
bless his heart.
But when you listen to this guy, he wasn't unhappy about being a horse. In fact, I think he was sort of hoping that, well, I kind of hope I die as a human pretty soon so I can go back to being a horse. And he was talking about, I went out to a farm and I went over to the fence and this, the head stallion comes over and it's like, what the hell are you doing here? Now, anybody who's dealing with him is going to say, this is an unusual person, probably with some mental pathology, but he's still got a human soul. But if you were to ask Jason, do you have a human soul? I'm pretty sure Jason would say, nope, I have a horse soul. You agree, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was his perspective.
That was his perspective. Have either of the two confessors here ever run into somebody who felt they didn't have a human soul? I mean, there's no question that Jason was 100% sapient.
I would say I have not, and I would dare say that I would doubt very seriously anyone would come to confession if they felt like they did not have a soul. And the reason for that,
a human soul.
Yeah. What's the use?
Well, I mean, but Jason felt himself to have moral obligations.
Okay.
I'm a horse. I got to be a good horse. He did. He had a set of moral obligations that he felt he needed to live up to.
Well, we would start discussing those morals number one.
After a psych eval.
Yeah.
And a bowl of oats.
Yeah.
And a bowl of oats.
But we would start discussing that. We would have to put them, I would very comfortably suggest that we go through a psych eval and start talking about these morals and
I bet he's had a psych eval.
Start a lot of counseling.
So Father Justin, I mean, obviously there was Jason the horse, and I remember the first time talking about it with Father Mike. Father Mike had this look on his face like, I'm really sitting here talking about a man who thinks he's a horse.
Yep.
But if there's something that describes what I think we try to do with the rundown is, I look at everything that's out there as part of what God has put there. Some of it's easy to understand. Some of it is impossible to understand. But if it's what God's put out there, it's worth my time and effort to try to understand it.
Exactly. That's why I love this show so much.
Right. Yeah. And see, that's what I need guys like you to help me pull it. Because see, I grew up in the first 11 years of my life, I grew up in a fundamental Baptist church. Things were very, very, very
black and white.
The way you thought. I mean, my parents grew up in that. They weren't allowed to go to prom because rock and roll music leads to dancing, dancing leads to sex, sex leads to hell.
Yeah,
that was their theology.
There's some truth to that. Bottom line. I'm going to say they might not have been wrong.
Yeah, they weren't entirely wrong.
But they just, and so there's a lot of PTSD from that for me still growing up in that. So even though I've been in the Charismatic Episcopal 25 some odd years, there's still triggers of those things. So to have people like you guys who come and are willing to think outside the box and look at things that I was told was satanic, was evil, was just, don't, because once you allow those thoughts into your brain, you're going to go wherever, you're going to go to hell, whatever. And so that's probably another reason why I came into this very
guarded,
skeptical, because I didn't know I was going against everything that still triggers me. And I'm 49 years old. I've been out of that for 30 something years, but there's still those, you can't go down that road, because if you go down that road, it's going to lead to this. And
I'm
finding that's just bullshit,
Yeah, well, exactly right.
We've broken another one.
Don't worry about what do we say?
But it helps me. But the way you guys think also helps me think about what I do believe.
Right.
I think that it's to what you said earlier, this sort of laser focus that you have on life. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that,
No.
there's benefit to that. I think that when you see something off to the side of that doesn't fit, what I like is planting the seed that all of this, to Vic's point, is part of God's creation. And we may or may not have an explanation for it, but that doesn't make it any less real. The experiences that people are having any less real. It just means we don't know. We don't know what it is. We don't know why it is. And that's in all the different realms of the paranormal. It's fascinating. And we love exploring that. Everyone on this show looks at this stuff through a Christian perspective, because we're all Christians. I mean, that's what we are. And that comes out in the show probably more than we want it to sometimes. We tend to get sort of mired deeply in the, the biblical a lot of times, but that's just where the show goes. And I think we just have to accept that. But I think that there is a perspective where all of this stuff can fit. We just don't know why. And that's okay. But that doesn't make it illegitimate. It frustrates me when everything that is outside of that box is just instantly labeled demonic.
Right.
If you don't know it, if you can't explain it, it's demonic. Because I don't think that's the truth. I think Scripture itself will tell you it only has a small portion of anything that Jesus said or that God has, expressed. It's what we need for salvation. The rest of it out there, God's creation is unlimited. So I don't see why we should look at this stuff and limit ourselves.
I agree.
But I think we tend to keep the biblical view of core things, but outside of that,
everything I grew up with was out of fear. It all came out of fear.
There you go.
Yes,
that's where I have to. The older I get, the more I have other people that will try to ask me questions. That my initial trigger is fear of, okay, no, I can't go there, because if I let my head go there, I don't know where it's going to go, and I don't, and it's just letting that, being in that safe place, and that's where I think you guys are, is definitely a safe place where you can explore these things and ask the questions and go, wow, that's cool. Have no clue what that means, but
that's very cool. Well, I mean, I think it comes to
ask,
I think I'm very lucky along these lines. And I guess my family was kind of Lutheran when I was a kid. I say kind of Lutheran, in that every once in a while we would go to a Lutheran church and there was a cross on the wall and Bibles around. So kind of Lutheran. But I don't ever remember there being any fear concerning God. It was once I convinced myself that I believed in God, and look, kids, especially smart kids, will go through periods where they'll say, yeah, believing today, not believing today, yeah, kind of believing today, boy, really, really not believing today.
Yeah.
And, that's a normal human thing that kids do. And up to you're about 18. What's that?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to do that.
You weren't allowed to do that.
You either believe or you don't believe. If you don't believe, you need to get right with God, come back to Jesus, and get rebaptized for the 400th time.
Oh,
and
wow.
I hear you. You're right.
That's it. I was not allowed to
get saved every Sunday.
Yeah, it's just, and I love the fact that you were raised like that. That's the way to not be afraid to ask questions, not be afraid to wonder. But for me, Jesus and God was a scary thing. That if you got out of line, he was going to strike you down.
I am so sorry about that, because I remember thinking really very young, maybe age 7. Look, I grew up in abject poverty in Louisiana. Where it wasn't necessarily guaranteed we were going to have food every day. But mostly, but not absolutely. But I just remember thinking how, wonderful a place this was, how beautiful it was. And, when I thought, what's God giving me? Well, he's put me down in the middle of Louisiana where it's green and hot and beautiful. And there's all this strange stuff. And there was a lot of strange stuff. and he's given me a brain where I can think about this stuff. And so by the time I was 12, my idea of God was essentially love and wonder. And I know that sounds very new agey, but I really wasn't coming at it from a new age position. Yeah, I've still got, God has expectations of me. I have to do this. I have to do that. But he forgives, and I have time to learn. Anyway, sorry to preach there.
That's awesome. That's
negatively.
That's awesome. I'm glad I wish we all had that.
Father Michael, thank you. Mike, thank you so much for putting up with the pain and contributing.
Yes,
Dave, you're a philosopher. I don't know if you know it or not.
I love it.
But you really are. You hit some very, very deep points. Josh, thank you so much for the continuous stream of info.
Awesome.
Yes. You're welcome.
And Father Justin, thank you so much for being here and putting up with us. And for taking the time to let the discomfort fade away.
Yeah, and for listening. Hopefully we planted a seed, and the next time you come back, you'll have contemplated a little bit this crazy world.
How many are there to listen to out there? What do we have? 30?
Oh, episodes?
Yeah, 35 or something like that.
The mid 30s at least.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to go listen to some other ones.
Listen to Trailer Trash Terrors.
Yeah, if you're really feeling,
I love it.
if you really feel, what's the word? Masochistic.
35 total episodes.
Yeah.
Cool. And if you want to get a feel for the highlights of the show, without having to listen to all the episodes, Vic and I did a run through season 1 at the end of the year. So we put out 4 episodes in December, and each one recaps the best of 5 shows of the first season. So you can sort of get the highlights of 20 shows by listening to 4.
Yeah.
Hey, John, can you send me those?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can see you working on it already. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we
had a lot of fun there.
Well, Father Justin, consider yourself part of the in crowd.
Awesome.
And Father Mike, hope you feel better. And I'm going to end, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
I love each of you.
Bye-bye.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Hello everyone, human and otherwise. This is Avalon Leanne Dankworth Smythe. Our neighbours in the hidden, misty lands of dismal old Britain have the surname of Snifflebottom Biggerstaff. I'm fairly certain they are only masquerading as humans. Honestly, we still have functional civil courts in Britain, at least usually, and they stubbornly hang on the surname Snifflebottom Biggerstaff. They claim it is a very prestigious name where they come from. Also, they occasionally get to looking very old indeed. But the next day, they have shed their skin and look young again. They don't hide the shed skins very well. Occasionally, our dogs, Rufus and Hambone Dankworth Smythe, will drag the shed skins into the house. It makes a right smelly mess. But aside from that, they are delightful neighbors indeed. All of the music heard in this episode was created by Lobo Loco, Smart Sound, or was simply in the public domain. Any media clips that appeared in the episode were used under the protection of the Fair Use Doctrine. Astoundingly, as their average IQ is quite close to that of a shed Snifflebottom Biggerstaff skin, The Paranormal Rundown is a joint production of Father Michael Birdsong, Dave Griffith, Vic Hermanson, and JJ Johnson. They could make my life easier if they adopted a collective moniker. You know, something like Gang of Nerds Media, hint, hint. If you have any feedback for the Gang of Nerds, or would like to be a guest on the Paranormal Rundown, please write to them at feedback@paranormalrundown.com. Until the next episode, this is Avalon Leanne Dankworth Smythe, signing off.